All right. What's going on? This is Independent Freedom Podcast here, introducing a special guest, one of the co-founders of Mature LLC, deals with men's clothing and some women's clothing, heavy on fashion. He's here to talk about like different experiences. I'd like to introduce him, Daryl Humes.
Thanks for having me, Mello.
That's what's up. What's going on, man? So, just share a little bit about your backstory, if you don't mind.
I am, once again, my name is Daryl Humes. I am the one of the co-founders of Mature. My backstory, pretty much I graduated college in marketing and logistics management, went into management consulting for about 10 or 12 years. So my entire professional career has primarily been focused on developing other businesses and really breaking down the operations of various businesses in different industries, large corporations, helping them improve from a financial and an operational standpoint. Taking that information for me and then running my own business has been very important, and that actually drove me to kind of go into business for myself. So we launched Mature in 2017 and kind of been pushing forward ever since.
So what is Mature about? Just give us an idea, give the audience an idea of what Mature is about.
Yeah, so Mature is a contemporary, casual, modern dresswear clothing retailer. We offer a balanced wardrobe for the elevated lifestyle. So we try to make sure that our customers have versatile products, high quality products for your casual daytime events, all the way to your nighttime events that may include club, restaurant, and or formal event.
Okay, so what made you start the business? I know you're one of the co-founders. Your brother started it with you. What made you guys start it?
So we did a lot of complaining as just normal men that love clothes and fashion, and we complained about what the Metro Detroit area had to offer. And we took what we loved, and we really just said, you know what, we want to start something of our own, create our own legacy, but also offer something that we thought that was very unique and very different, especially in the Metro Detroit area, and what we thought that we could offer to the U.S. and to the world. So in 2016, we just had a basic conversation, actually at a restaurant, and we just started talking about it. It was actually the first time we ever talked about it. We said, hey, we should open up our own store. And then we just, within that same conversation, we start talking about, well, what should we call, what should we name it? What do we think makes sense for what we're trying to offer, what we represent, who we are, who we think our customer it is. So we came up with the name Mature. And Mature is definitely it's more about a mindset. It's about a lifestyle change. It's about an elevation. It's about growth. It represents a lot of words. It has nothing to do with age. It has strictly to do about decision and choice and experience and where you're trying to go versus where you come from. And that's what we think the wardrobe and the collection represents.
So what was a few of the toughest obstacles that you had to face when you were starting your business?
I've never sold clothes before. I know nothing about the business in the sense of outside of just being a legit customer and knowing how to shop. That's legit it. I'm still not even a salesman to this day, I would say, even though I've been selling clothes for over 3.5 years almost. But I think the biggest thing for us is where to start and understanding, regardless of having some level of business knowledge and based on my experience, what I went to school for, and me and my brother understanding how to shop and what looks good, what doesn't. It was just so much more to that when you're running a business. So where do we go? Where do we start? can we really do this? Still got both of us still have full-time jobs at the time, and yeah, all of that plus 1,000 more other many obstacles.
So like, what were some of the first things that you like guys did to like, okay, get some knowledge in the game, in the industry?
So for me, it was big for me and my brother to kind of go through this journey together as business partners, to really test each other and hold each other accountable. So we wanted to really tap into local resources and just gain knowledge on how to just run a business. So really trying to find out what's those resources locally that can teach you business 101, how to run a business, how to run a store, uh, how to develop a business plan. Even though I've already been taught that in some degree, but I wanted to go through that with my partner together, and I also wanted to kind of get more of a teacher-student atmosphere and really submit myself to like just basic learning. So we partner with a few different strategic companies within the Metro Detroit area that kind of offered those services. But also for us, was extremely important, and it was a part of our strategy, was to have a network of people that we can use as resources throughout our journey, even that we still use today. So instead of us trying to be the business entrepreneurs of our own and do everything on our own, we wanted to be able to kind of bounce ideas and be able to tap into other people that had that wealth of knowledge, experience in their network. So we really went that route.
Okay, so like also like how'd you guys like seek out like because you guys never did like fashion clothing. Y'all may have bought it on the consumer side, but now you're trying to be like the producers or whatever and suppliers. So like how'd you guys get like people to supply you clothing, like the wholesale and just the vendors?
Great question. So our store is definitely more of a mid to luxury tier name brands. Name brands that we carry are very well known, are very high quality, and ideally as a new business that have very little to obviously to no experience actually. We had to really sit down and come up with a brand strategy to submit to these brands and to really sell to them. So they were in a sense somewhat our first customers, in a sense where we try to sell to them like, hey, we're what you want your product to be in. You want your product to be in our location. We're going to grow. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is our target customer. This is our location, and Detroit is ready for you. And we're going to be going online. We're online as well. So we did a lot of research about what brands we wanted to initially carry. We had a couple brands that say, hey, we're not really sure you guys are ready for us. Come back and talk to us at some point. But for the most part, we were fairly successful because I think we really had a good idea of who we were, who we wanted to become. And we reached out to those brands, talked to them on a wholesale partnership, and they were very receptive. And we kind of took off from there, where we dropped some of those brands as quality, as we started to understand what quality levels we wanted or other data or metrics that we needed. And then we also started to continue, and we still do reach out to other new brands that we feel kind of fits our collective.
So like I know you guys like you guys started with like you didn't have any like investors pitching any money. It was all like just from your cash, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So everything for, I think the first 3 years was legitimately 100% investment from us. Up until this year in 2020, when COVID hit, was the first time we really started to receive additional grants or funding from from other sources.
Okay, so like did you guys like start establishing business credit or like
I think the first and foremost is trying to establish your own personal. And I think that's just a fundamental to have. So me and my brother, we already had some legitimacy in our own personal credit, in our own personal way we did business amongst ourselves and in our own households. And I think that also helped, I think, with relationships with other vendors and suppliers of major brands, because when you're buying product either upfront or buying product with any type of terms, they want to see, is your business legitimate? And the first way they can do that, if you don't have any history, is legitimacy. Are you personally legitimate?
Mm,
So I think that that's the one thing, is making sure that you are internally prepared to be able to have certain conversations, but also that if someone pulled the curtain in regards to your finances and how you handle business, what would they see? And I thought with me and my brother, even to this day, uh, our personal names and our business name has great credibility on a financial and a business relationship side.
okay, that's pretty heavy. So, like, with your personal credit, like, when do you think you guys started building business credit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in theory, you want to shift to business credit as quickly as possible. I don't think that for us, we did a good enough job of switching over as quickly as we should have. We did a lot of things kind of like just upfront, no terms, just straight our own personal credit or cash, just to make sure things were paid and we didn't have any issues of owing anybody. But you want to switch over as quickly as possible to business, and establishing that with things being in the business name, just because it's a great best practice for an accounting purposes. And obviously when you eventually need to get an accountant and you're filing for taxes and things of that nature, things are in line and in order. And then also it's extremely important for when you're doing things with your business, that you actually have history associated to your business. So for us, I would say within the first maybe like year and a half, we started to do a better job of doing things with our business name, whether that was credit card or debit card. But we're continually still shifting some of those things over to 100% business.
Okay, so like suggesting for someone who is looking to start a business and trying to register it like legitimately through the paperwork, like how does one start establishing business credit?
So establishing business credit is they're going to first and foremost want to check your personal and making sure that whoever is the signer of whatever that business is going to be able to have some level of backing. And if you want to get a grant loan or line of credit through any other type of bank, they're going to reference the actual business owners. In doing so, is fine and dandy and fairly easy, only if, like I said, you have some type of established personal. Once you actually get years of sales and years of business history, as in whatever your product or service is, then actually it makes it more easy to be able to sell a story, whether you're trying to get a line of credit or a business loan. So uh, it's not that difficult, as long as you have some years of experience. And if you don't have years of experience, they're going to heavily rely on your personal.
Okay, that's pretty heavy. So like it's kind of like work experience. Like as your business starts like maturing over the years, see how you use mature.
I like
Uh,
that.
you start getting like business credit.
Absolutely. And I think that the best practices that you have for your personal, if those aren't in line or in order, I would definitely make sure those are in line and in order prior to you starting your business. So when you do start, you have you're following the right steps so you don't mess up your business name. Because at some point, no one's really talking about Dural or DeKoven as business owners. They're talking about mature.
Mm.
And when brands and vendors talk to each other, or local or state government are talking amongst and banking are talking amongst each other, whether they want to issue you a grant or a loan, the business name is going to have the more so the credibility, which is supported by your personal. So you got to make sure that you're personally doing what you're supposed to do, but then you also you're putting your business name out there in the right way, so it has its right respect amongst the right people that you're going to encounter with to get those type of financial gains or loans, grants, or whatever.
So like I like what you like. There's something that you said that caught my attention where you were talking about like when whether businesses are trying to supply to you or customers are trying to like buy from you, they're not even like seeing you or the other co-founder, your brother. Now it's just all they're seeing is Mature, the brand name. So it's kind of like it's its own entity. It's its own individualism.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get caught up in just the paperwork or trying to get an LLC and all of that, but they got to really truly understand. Yeah, that's the documentation piece of it, but it's the business owner's job to create the brand and the respect for that particular business, where you say, hey, you owe the business to do right by the business. So that's whether, to your point, setting up the right infrastructure of your business, and then to that point, going forward, making sure that every relationship that your business encounters with is represented the right way. Because you can't. It's one thing for me and you as in Mello and Daryl having a dispute, but then when Mature is in the system, I need to also put my personal personality aside for the betterment of the business. Because when people view or have a customer service issue, they're going to talk about and badmouth or have that talk about that encounter on behalf of them and Mature, not them and Daryl.
That definitely makes sense. Now, I want to go back to like when you had first like started establishing it. What I was wondering was like when you were trying to like get suppliers, was you being a minority an issue or no?
I would say not necessarily. I'm not going to be naive and say that it didn't have nothing to play. It didn't have something to play with it. Obviously, my experience and obviously being a young Black man in a predominantly white male dominated industry, especially with men's clothing, uh, there's going to be some level of reluctancy or hesitation when you're trying to work with someone like myself. But I think it's also my job too, and obviously me having experience post high school in a more professional career over the years, me just automatically walking into the door and knowing that my ducks need to be in a row, me making sure that I'm doing things the right way just puts me in the best position possible. And whatever I can control, I can't control. So that's just been the mindset that I've had, and I think that for the most part we've had great favor, but we still deal with individuals that represent certain brands or whatnot that don't necessarily treat us always the same way they might treat a larger corporation, and that probably might be just because we're small business, or they don't really see you as lucrative as they see others. So it's like, well, do we really want to spend our time? Do we really treat them with the right level of professionalism as we need to? And I think that at the end of the day, you got to just hold your ground and understand what you demand and respect, and make sure that you're respecting your business or yourself, and then kind of just deal with it from that.
One thing I wanted to ask you, just because like I believe that there are like a lot of minorities or like Black people and etc. who might feel like they might face a lot of discrimination, maybe via wholesaling or like just different stuff like that when it comes to like business. What, like, from your personal experience, like how would you guide them or how would you suggest to them to go about those situations or what they're going to go through?
Well, I think always in any type of conflict resolution type of conflict environment is that you got to know how to navigate and be able to speak up for yourself in a professional manner. And I think that that's extremely important, because I think that you start to get more respect from others when you know how to properly speak up and not necessarily I'm trying to get with them, or I'm trying to go back and forth with them. I'm trying to talk to them in a way as if like it's non-professional. And I think that for any business owner, you have to understand that it's inevitable that it's going to happen. You're going to come across the table with somebody that doesn't respect you the right way, whether that's because you're a minority, whether you're a small business, whether they don't just have respect for you in general. How you deal with it is based on how you're preparing yourself mentally to be able to deal with it. And I think that when you have expectations that this is going to happen, then I think that when it does happen, you should be in a better mindset and a better frame of mind to be able to be prepared to deal with it. And I think that will be my key advice, is that don't expect it not to happen. Expect that it will happen. Not saying as in looking for it to happen, but when it does happen, be ready to respond appropriately, and make sure you have strong relationships up the entire food chain. So typically in a wholesale relationship, there's going to be someone that's probably like the head sales director. There's also going to be in a wholesale relationship, there's going to be probably somebody that's dedicated to you, whether they're region based or just dedicated to your account. And when you have a relationship with both, and when you have a relationship as high as you can get up, it typically allows you to be able to make sure that the messaging in the relationships maintains a high level of respect. So if I'm having an issue with my sales rep or someone at the lowest level, then if they're communicating back all the way up, that person that you already have the relationship, which is their boss, is going to be able to sift through that and say, you know what, I don't believe that, or let me talk to Daryl directly. And I think that's another thing for us, is that we have relationships all the way through the chain, which allows us to be able to control the relationship, control the messaging. So when there is small disputes, they can sift through that, and we still remain our integrity around our brand.
That was pretty heavy though. Like what you're saying, like I like what you're saying, like just maintain like good relationships with each individual, even especially important individuals in different departments. Especially there might be a regional person for sales, and there might be like a head person for like for wholesale and everything. That's pretty heavy, because like people don't know that, especially when like going on a business, like you said, like you didn't know that till you experienced it. Like, okay, how do I get like connect to the wholesalers? How do I connect to suppliers and everything like that?
Yep, absolutely. And then when you go to the trade shows in person, that allows you 90% of the time, you're going to be talking to people via phone or via Zoom as of now. So that's just the industry in itself. But when you get the opportunity to actually speak to people in person, you can have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. And then it's always important for you to be 2 steps ahead. So for us, we like to make sure that we understand who reports to who's responsible for what. So if I understand your company and who reports to who's responsible for what, then I understand how to navigate when I do have issues, and when I do feel I'm getting underserved. And I think that's important, to be able to have those contacts in your pocket, because local associates or agents at the account level, from brand to brand, typically have high turnover, mid to high turnover. So some people in certain brands, I've been with a brand for necessarily 3 years, I've had probably 3 different reps, but the people at the higher bosses typically have been pretty stagnant, or they're pretty much the same. So if I maintain that great relationship with those high people, then I'm always going to be in good standing with that particular company.
Okay. That's cool. Now I want to like backtrack when you guys started. Like, did you have like a brick and mortar, like an establishment, or did you just start like with an e-commerce?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, me and you kind of talked about this, because I kind of wanted to piggyback on you when you actually had your business and you already had been in brick and mortar. At the time, I was ready to go. I wanted to go straight into brick and mortar, just because I knew that was the vision. But in theory, it was a very, very wise decision that we made between me and my brother to just start online base. So we started online base day one, because we knew that was the growth channel that we wanted to have, and we knew that that was going to be an integral part of our business. Obviously, it was less overhead, and it was an investment decision as well. And from then on, we did online, but we did a series of pop-ups. And to the audience that doesn't understand what pop-ups are, it's a short term, whether that's a day, a few hours, or a weekend, or months, that allow you to be in some type of brick and mortar location with a short term stay and sell to a customer base face to face. So we use the pop-ups and the collectives to really, over the first 3 years, to test where we wanted to be long term and really say, hey, can we withstand this operation? Do we really understand all the integral parts of running a business day to day? I mean, you've been in business for a long time, Mello. I mean, running a business in store, there's a lot of, it's more than just selling a product. I mean, you got to have retail bags, you got to have employees, you got to have employee schedules. I mean, all that good stuff. And for us, we try to take in all that knowledge, and I think our learning curve, we learned at a faster rate by actually going down the route of the pop-ups and the collectives very heavily our first 3 years.
So and talk about that, talk more about like the pop-ups, you know, because like that's like a heavy thing that's gotten big, I think, in the past like 5 to 10 years. Like share more of your experience with like pop-ups and what it was like for you.
So for us, being a menswear, and we sell more of a wide range of products, and our products are more a try-on basis, and it's more of a feel-good type shop where you're actually getting involved, touching, feeling, and trying on the clothing. It was very challenging for us because we needed space. We had to think and strategize and optimize our space that was allotted to us, because in pop-ups, you're allotted space. You might get 100 square feet in one facility. You might get 200 square feet in another. We've been outdoors versus being indoors. We've been in areas where we don't have mirrors or fitting rooms. So you're dealing with, it's almost like being dealt a hand of cards and you having to make that work. So that's really what a pop-up really does sometimes, where as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you have to take what your product or service is and make it work within that space. So for us, that was challenging, but it was extremely important for us because we've, like I said, been outdoors. We've been in malls. We've been at barbershops. We've tested in country clubs. We've went to holiday markets at different companies. Then we've also been in collectives. And collectives can be somewhat different than a pop-up. Pop-up can be more of like a silo where it's just you and your brand only. And it's almost like a mini store, but in a small framework, where a collective sometimes encompasses a multiple of stores and brands within one space, where there might be a little bit more cohesion and have to mix and merchandising, but it also can create somewhat a mini competitiveness for the consumer. So both of those have pros and cons, where you might say, you know what, it doesn't cost me as much because of the overhead. I'm learning on the job. I'm learning on the go. I'm getting great awareness about my brand. But then some of the cons might be where some of the people in your collective might not mesh with kind of the customer that you have. Sometimes the consumer comes up, they don't understand what a pop-up in a collective is, and they don't understand the whole concept. So when they see something that they don't like, it associates with your brand.
Oh.
So there's just a combination of things that kind of go with collectives and pop-ups.
I see. So when it comes to the collective and like the pop-ups, like how did you hear about the collective? Like how did you like first start like getting into the collective? Because from what you're telling me, like the collective is just like where it's like, okay, a group of people, a group of businesses partner and get a brick and mortar together.
Absolutely. So in theory, what I mentioned earlier, it's extremely important to network. And people say that they want to network because they go out and just hand out business cards. But networking really is beyond that. It's actually establishing relationships with others and establishing relationships with other business owners or um, business strategic resource business locally business people like such as Techtown Detroit or Hatch Detroit and other incubators that allow you and your business to grow and provide resources and networking. That was important for us. Like I mentioned earlier, where you build those relationships earlier, they'll start providing additional information to you that you never even had awareness of because they're having certain conversations in certain realms and they're letting you know like, hey, these things are coming to play. The first pop-up that really came to part for us that really put us on the map was the holiday market with Bedrock. And Bedrock is it's more of a real estate in downtown Detroit that they do a lot of things where they pretty much own all of the real estate going down Woodward and whatnot. So they've done some pop-ups around the holiday time and we just got a hold of it. So you got to really be researching and finding out what's going on and when is it going on. I think that's extremely important. A lot of stuff doesn't just come knocking at your door. You got to be actually searching and putting in the work to find out what are some of the things that is going to benefit my business. The same way with 12 Oaks Mall. We did a pop-up for 12 Oaks Mall where they had a series of weekends and weeks where they're dedicating one space to small businesses, and they have 4 businesses in that particular space for 2 weeks at a time. So we were able to do that for 2 weeks at a time, being in 12 Oaks Mall, getting customer feedback, being able to test out that type of market. So really just doing a lot of research, trying to understand what's out there for my business where I can kind of showcase it and being a nice pop-up or collective that makes sense.
So like, were you guys like afraid? Because it's like your first time. You start like you enter a pop up for the first time, never been. You got all these clothes. You don't even know like if you're gonna make a sale or not. You don't even know like how to, like you said, you've never been a salesman, how to sell. You don't know how to present things, display everything. So like share that experience. Was there any fear?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think all entrepreneurs work through a sense of uh, they have moments of doubt. They don't work. I don't think we all operate in fear. I think well, we do have moments of doubt, and I think entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. I mean, it's probably multiple days, multiple times, maybe even throughout my day, where I'm looking like, "Whoa, this is just a lot. It's too much. I'm ready to tap out." But there's also that same roller coaster. There's very rewarding highs. So to me, I try to keep those things in my mind as well as the moments of challenge, the moments of uncertainty, the moments of learning things that you've never learned before, and it somewhat can be overwhelming. I also try to keep in mind that um, I have people that's counting on me. I have people that's counting on me from employees. I have people that's counting on me from customers that's looking for what I have to offer. And I think that's the piece that you keep in your forefront allows you to maintain a sense of comfort, a sense of stressless moments, and a sense of like just focus because you can be distracted with when you start living in fear versus just dealing with moments of doubt.
Okay. So it's like even though you had unsurety, it's like you just pushed through. It didn't matter.
You got to push through, and I mean, me and you, we've known each other for
A while.
plenty of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of years. We're just like you said, a while. But I mean, we're very competitive, and I would say that to say the least. But to me, and I think even for you as well. I mean, my competition doesn't come based off of an opponent. My opponent is legitimately the challenges that are in front of me.
Mm.
And that's how I approach entrepreneurship. That's how I approach life. And I think that most successful entrepreneurs probably do the same thing, where they say like, hey, I got to accomplish what I got to accomplish. I have to push through. Like, the ball is in my hand. There's a few seconds on the shot. Everybody's looking at me, and I got to be able to shoot this with confidence. And I think that regardless if you make or miss, you have to live with that. And I think that that's what you do, is that you have to be able to be willing to do things that haven't been done to be a successful entrepreneur.
I definitely think that's pretty heavy. Like I like that. I think it's funny because I feel like any little thing can translate to your personal life or like your professional life. Like for instance, like how you just applied sports, because you're like heavy on sports. That competitive, that drive, it translates now into your career, not only into your career, into your business, and probably into your relationships and how you handle
Absolutely.
people. So I think that's pretty
Absolutely.
heavy, like that analogy. Like, and it's funny, like you're not like the only person who like applies like sports with that. Like, it's just crazy how like even like the little entertainment things that you do, like translates into the serious business stuff that you do.
And me and you have had a lot of personal conversations where we've talked even about games like chess and how that applies to life. Or we'll watch TV shows where we're looking deeper behind the characters, and we're looking at like what really transpired and how that impacts our day-to-day lives. And I think that when you're looking at things, not necessarily overlooking at things, but really looking at things that can really be applied, there's a lot of life lessons that are involved in a lot of things that we do. And then to me, it just puts a little bit more value on things that you do and invest, because there's a lot of learning that happens. There's a lot of transfer of wisdom. So I think I mean, to what you're saying is just makes perfect sense. And I think learning from each other, you being an entrepreneur for such a long time, and us being able to have conversations where we can learn and pull and give to each other, I think that's extremely important to any entrepreneur. Having people in your corner that you can really tap into, that understand what you're doing or have done it in some capacity already.
No, that's definitely true. Um, one thing that I was thinking about, like, cause like you talked about like Tech Town and like other programs, like, so can you like share like what programs really like helped you and resources to some of the audience, like what helped you?
Yeah, so Tech Town Detroit, I went to a retail boot camp there where I think it was either 6 to 8 weeks or something of that nature. And we spent a lot of quality time breaking down this complete brick and mortar operation. And that was something that me and my brother went through. And then they've provided a lot of resources to us post the actual camp and program. And even to this day, I can tap into them, and they provide resources for us to be able to direct us on who should work with, whether that's legal or whether that's merchandising or any aspect of our business. Another program was called Lifeline Consulting, where we went through their um, business startup program. They also have a development of a business plan program as well. But we went through that program as well, where we were sitting in a room of a lot of brand new business owners that were just in their visionary stage. And they just really hold you accountable, challenging you on understanding what you're really trying to accomplish. And I think that's extremely important, because you can be so focused and you feel like you know what you want to do, but when someone really sits in front of you and challenges you or asks you certain questions or asks you to give your 30-second pitch or elevator pitch, sometimes you struggle. Sometimes you're not as clear. Sometimes you just don't, you think you know, but you don't really know. Or you do know and you get that affirmation, or you get just some type of pivoting that might need to happen. So those were two different programs and two different strategic partners we worked with. Also applying to different pitch contests, like we applied to Hatch Detroit, where we end up being in top 10. So that's awarded us a long-term networking with them where they provide certain resources for us, or just some type of connectivity where I can call them and they can, they're just in our corner. So those strategic relationships, Midtown Detroit Inc. was another one where we've really worked with in the past, where they provide resources for us or information that might not be readily available. And we get it pretty proactively and pretty early. So that's extremely important, is just having relationships with as many people as you can that understand your business and are going to be working for you in your business when you don't even know it.
That's heavy. Another question I was wondering, because I know like we talked about how like it was an e-commerce and like and then you had the pop-up and then the collective. I was curious, like, was the e-commerce, like, did you see like a lot of progress in the e-commerce?
Yeah, currently right now we're inside of the Fisher Building, so we've been in a brick and mortar of our own space since November of 2019. But e-commerce was our bread and butter in the beginning. Um, it's definitely challenging managing both, because they're in some ways definitely like they're legitimately like their own stores, where you need to devote and dedicate time and to that particular operation, whether you're trying to do a better job of attracting customers, merchandising your product online is completely different, obviously, than merchandising your product in store. Providing a certain level of customer service is completely different with being in person versus actually being online. But for us, we wanted to continue to go down that path just because it makes sense. I mean, we shipped to over 20 different states. So we've had some fairly success there, but don't get me wrong, the opportunity for growth is it's extremely big and large there, and we really haven't tapped into that as the way that we should. But us kind of refocusing and rededicating some time this year, being forced to do so with COVID and the pandemic, has really allowed us to kind of restructure some things and really tap back into a customer base that allows you to really have unlimited reach.
Mm. Well, that's heavy. That's pretty deep. So like, when did you guys like realize, okay, it's time for us to leave the collective and like have our retail shop or our physical location, our brick and mortar?
I think we at that point when we realized we had enough data. I mean, in 2018, we were in two collectives at the exact simultaneously. So we're basically running. We're in two stores for 7 months at a time. One was in Midtown and one was downtown, and they were both open 6-7 days a week. And we ran those for 7 months. So we definitely stretched ourselves thin, but we did that purposely to understand really where we needed to be and really wanted to see if we could really operate. And at the time, that was me and my brother both working full time, on top of having employees dedicated to both locations, having inventory in different locations. And at that time, I mean, we were selling clothes in 3 to 4 different ways, where we were selling clothes at those two locations online, and sometimes doing daily or weekend pop-ups at other locations. So we really stretched ourselves thin and really pushed the envelope to understand what we really were capable of doing and if we were really ready. And then we start to realize that we weren't really giving our customers the full experience, and we had more products to offer. So we knew at that point, hey, let's go ahead and do it. And the numbers relatively made sense.
I see. Now, for someone who's like just starting, or like, you know, and they want to start, and like, would you advise to them to save some money, budget to invest, or like what would you suggest?
I would definitely say saving is never a bad thing. So personally or business wise, saving is always good. But the other thing is too is that you need to truly understand your product and service, your business, understand what competition is doing, understand and try to lay out some level of a forecast
Mm.
for either that first 6 months, 3 months, or even a year, understanding whatever your platform is going to be, whether that's going to be in collectives or online or a combination of both or your own store, understanding what your potential sales would be, understanding obviously your costs. And I think at that point, you'll understand what level of capital you will need to start that business, but then also to kind of maintain at least that first year.
Okay.
But that right there could be overwhelming, all what I just said. And that's why it's important to me to link up with a Lifeline consultant or anybody that has kind of like that startup business one-on-one type of environment that kind of helps you learn what's the type of numbers that you need to put together to get a better insight on, is your business ready to launch.
That's heavy. So, any other suggestions for anyone aspiring to start their business?
Yeah, entrepreneurship can be lonely. And I think that's important for you to understand that everybody's not going to understand what you're doing. Conversations that you have, you can't, like, people aren't going to get overly excited forever about the start of your business. The same level of excitement when I launched and told people about my business, that same level of excitement is not always going to be there. And it's probably not there for most about my business, right? At some point, I become a normal business to like everybody, but you have to generate that excitement. So you have to you can't go into business thinking it's going to be a hobby. You can't go into business just because your friend is going into business. You need to go into business because you legitimately feel that your product and service is what the customer needs, that is going to provide a solution. So I encourage anybody to go into business. Is great for yourself. It's very rewarding, but make sure you're going into business for the right reasons, and make sure that you understand that it's a journey. It's not it's not just it's not a destination. It's not like you haven't arrived. Like it's pivoting moments. This pandemic has challenged a lot of long-term business that's been in business that had to shut doors. And then there's business that's always done well, but they had to offer something different and pivot into something different. So it's definitely, you're creative. You have to maintain a creation and continue to be creative. But understand that when you go into business, you have to make sure that you're doing it for what you believe is the right thing to do for your customer, and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And I salute you.
Okay. One other thing that I was thinking about, like, do you feel like within the past 3 years of business, your business launching, do you feel like you've exceeded your expectations?
That's a tough question, man. I do less patting on my back than I probably should. Um, I'm always thinking I'm behind in the sense of like a backlog of things I need to do. It's like I can look at my website or look at my store, and the first thing I'm thinking of is what it doesn't have versus what it does. Um, but you know what? This first 3 years has not went the way I wanted it to, in a sense of what I thought it would do within the first 3 years, as in like the path and when we will open our own store and all of that stuff. But you know what? I've been way more open-minded and understanding that there's a level of patience. And when we're going to be in this game for long term, you have to understand that things are going to happen at different times, whether that's construction, whether that's executing a lease, whether that's a pandemic or whatnot that creates delays. And ultimately, I'm very grateful for us to be where we've been and accomplished within our 3 years. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to be grateful. I might not necessarily have exceeded my expectations, but I am grateful. And I think that grateful for customers that walk in, grateful for customers that just look and shop, grateful for anybody that's walk around when I look and see the brand that we've created, and as fashion designers, and also business owners, there's people that's walking around with my brand that knows about it. There's people that even told me about my brand that didn't know that I was the owner. So no, to answer your question, it's not probably exceeding my expectations because I'm such a I critique my business at a different level, but I am extremely, extremely grateful to be even in business and be able to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish within these first 3 years.
That's pretty awesome. I think one thing I like to add on, I think what you said was really heavy, like, because a lot of people, like, they might think, oh, you know, in a year time, it's going to be like this. In 2 years time, it's going to be like this. But like you said, there's setbacks. Now, you're looking at it as a long time investment. You're not looking at it, oh, in 3 years. Now you're like, okay, in 10 years. But like, even though you're thinking in 10 years, you're still working like it's short term. Like, okay, what do I have to do today? What do I have to do this week? What's the monthly goals that I have to hit? And am I hitting those? And if I'm not hitting those, why? And like, well, I like what you said is like that patience thing. Like really seeing it, because like when you're just starting, you don't think about that. You're invincible. Then you get some wounds.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then you have to also continue to make sure that you understand that you can't be stuck thinking as an employee, that you have to also be thinking as a visionary, as an owner. And then you can't be so far high as an owner that you don't understand the day-to-day operation, and that so there's a balance there. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm continuing to learn, continue to understand how to do a little bit of both, where I can get forward thinking and more strategic thinking and thinking about the vision of our company and how do we execute, but then I'm also thinking about the day-to-day and the customer experience and the operation and the execution. So making sure that I spend my time doing both and devoting my time to both, to me also helps the health of my business.
That's pretty heavy. So like any like last words that you would have to say before we start closing?
No, I've enjoyed this conversation. I think that it's extremely important to, like I said, to have people in your corner that you can speak with and talk to, whether that's mentorship or other people that's working in that field or expertise, because wisdom and knowledge is extremely important. I think that's one of the things that's been contributed to us so far, and why we've been able to be somewhat successful thus far is because we've tapped in and really utilize the resources of others and knowledge of others and experience of others, but then we also maintain a level of hunger that we had when we first started, because it's not a track race. This is definitely like cross country. It's a longevity race.
That distance, huh?
It's definitely distance. And you got to be able to have the endurance. You got to be able to eat right, take care of yourself, because if not, you'll expire very quickly. So I encourage everybody. I appreciate you, Mello, bringing us on and having these healthy conversations about this great topic, and this because definitely this economy needs more entrepreneurs, but we need more healthy entrepreneurs as well.
Before you get off, like you know, share some of your like Instagram and like.
Absolutely, yeah. So our Instagram is at Mature Look, MATURELOOK. Our website is www.maturelook.com. And our company, once again, is Mature. We're located in Metro Detroit inside of the Fisher Building, 3011 West Grand Boulevard in Detroit. But then we're online and we service all across the country. So if you're ever looking for some great clothing, great quality, fair prices, but you want to look good, and come shop with us.
All right, cool, man. All right, peace.
Appreciate you, Mello. Peace.
Yep.